academic studies that show that women in policing are highly successful, women in law enforcement are highly successful, women in crisis situations are highly successful, women who program, lead, and manage, who work in collaborative environments that are best illustrated by an embassy country team are highly successful.
That sentiment was not always the case. The Diplomatic Security Service hired its first female special agent, Patti Morton, in 1972. Patti had worked for the State Department for a few years before switching to the security field.
I came on board in late April 1972, went to the Washington field office, was assigned a desk. The agents had been assigned by the SAC, who was George Sprott, to take me under wing for a week and make sure that I understood what their investigative procedures were and their format. That I already knew from the investigations I had done while in Kinshasa. However, I certainly appreciated their effort to make me feel at home and to see that I learned what I should be doing. There was no training at that time, just agent by agent, or as the SAC would give additional data that needed covering, or the ASAC, who was John Ford. Both gentlemen tried to be very helpful to me, and I still think fondly of them today. When I first came on board, all agents were expected to serve on protective detail. My name was submitted along with others. However, only the men were selected for the first 6 months. Then one day, either Mr. Sprott or Mr. Ford only submitted last names, and I received a call about 5 o'clock as I was out in a neighborhood. The lady said, "Your boss wants you to call him immediately," which I did. He asked me to come back to the Washington field office. He wanted to issue me a gun. I was to go on protective detail within the hour. At that time, we were issued a gun and 6 bullets. At the end of the protective detail, we turned them back in, which I did the next morning. But when I appeared at Maine State, where I was to start the protective detail, the team leaders said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I am assigned to the detail." And they said, "Oh, no, you're not." Then they looked at the list, saw the last name Morton, and realized it was me instead of someone else. They went into a long, lengthy powwow and eventually said, "Well, since Mrs. Vance is accompanying the secretary tonight, I guess we can let you go along. You can watch the ladies' room." And that's what I did, not only that night, but for many protective details after that.
Although she faced adversity at times, pistol packing Patti pushed through, serving as a regional security officer in Vietnam during the war and later at The Hague. She also completed many domestic assignments. Today, there are several women in senior leadership positions across DSS, serving as deputy assistant secretaries, senior regional security officers, office directors, diplomatic courier hub chiefs.
I started in March of 1999 with Basic Special Agent Class 52. My first post was Kinshasa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And from there, I went on to Niamey, Niger, subsequently Peshawar, Pakistan, Algiers, Algeria, Canberra, Australia. And Canberra is very near and dear because that's where my daughter was born. And then, of course, Kabul. And then my last overseas assignment was U.S. mission to Iraq.
DSS women take on tough assignments, serving in high-threat locations.
Being the senior regional security officer for Mission Iraq was, I oftentimes categorize it as being the pinnacle of my career at that point in time. When I started in Iraq in the summer of 2018, we were Embassy Baghdad, Consulate Erbil, and Consulate Basra. In the course of about 18 days in the month of October, leading into the holiday season in November and December, ARSO for Basra and myself, Sean Serker, were tasked, if not, dare I say, ordered to close the consulate in about 18 days. You think it can only get, better from there, and over a period of time, the green zone, the iconic green zone, was dismantled as we knew it. Threats were through the roof. We just saw an unprecedented period of change and the dynamic nature of the way Iraq was evolving with its elections, its political system. Yet at the same time, we were being pretty bold. We were pretty courageous and doing overland moves to Ramadi and Fallujah with the RSO team that was there in support of the ambassador. The job itself was one of the most rewarding I've ever done. Please don't mistake that it replaced being with my family for a year or, seeing my friends and participating in life back here in the United States at all. It was hard, but incredibly rewarding. I consider myself to be one of the luckiest of DS personnel with the team that I had spread out across the country. They were fantastic.
Female colleagues within DSS and the State Department take the time to show the new hires the ropes.
Very early on in my career, I was sent out overseas because I had previous experience, particularly in Africa, and I spoke French. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Gabon. There was a significant need for assistant regional security officers to go to West and Central Africa. So I kind of knew that I would be heading out overseas fairly early on in my career. As a result, when I got to post, with few exceptions, most of the women at post occupied more support roles, like office managers. Some were in GSO. I had one colleague very early on who was head of the econ section, and she was very kind and generous with her time to me. But there wasn't a lot of reach back for folks, for agents. Those that were attuned to sort of being young and starting out, and particularly being female, were also very gracious. The good guys are out there, and they were good, and they took very good care of me and guided me along the way. And some of their advice was fantastic, some of it not so much. And you just go, okay, thanks. Maybe that's a little dated, but we'll carry on with what you said earlier. And that was okay. The way I feel about mentorship, which is if asked, the answer will always be yes. I remember going through training, for example, and we had a few female agent trainers, and it was great to see their perspective, even more so to hear them talk about their families and such, because you thought, okay, this is possible. You can still be involved in all this and still also have a life outside of it too, outside of the organization. And I think that was a good first example for me. My first real impression of on-the-job agents, female agents, was Lorene Stevens-Rice, Liz Timmons, now Liz McAleer, Pam Gary, now Pam Maldonado. They rocked it. They were amazing. Competent as the day is long, but welcoming, kind, and smart, and funny, and just great. And to this day, I'm friends with all three of them. And I tell them that story all the time. I said, for me on the outside looking in, just showing up, not knowing which end was up, how would I fit in? Oh no, here comes the temp, right? Never. Never did they ever make you feel that way. And so I looked at that example I got 2 days on the job after I picked up my credentials. I said, for the rest of my career, I want to be as gracious as Lorene, as Pam, as Liz were to me. Because our female agent cadre is a relatively small number of DS personnel, I've committed to never not availing myself when someone seeks the assistance. I don't know that I've been the best at reaching out to everybody. I think that would be a bit hard, but certainly if someone reaches out to me and says, hey, do you have a few minutes? The answer will always be yes, always. In this organization, as I see it today, as a female agent, there are many opportunities. There is a place at the table for women, both for me in the agent cadre like me, for our engineers, for our couriers, for our STS. I don't think it matters. I think DS is a home. It's a welcoming home for women. And I would really encourage folks to take that to heart as we start looking at who fills our ranks and in what capacity.